Good morning. Oh, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to this edition of Vision Alignment. We've got a special guest coming on today, but before we get to that, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what's going on with Vision Alignment. So, the Vision Alignment show goes live, as you're aware, to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, but there have been some good interactions that have happened based on some of those different channels that we go to. So, I want to make sure that you're all getting engaged as much as you can in these conversations. But without any further ado, I just want to make sure you're ready to come along with us and listen to Carlos Vides. He is the guest for today, and I am so excited to have him on. Carlos, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, thank you for having me on. And I always see your show on LinkedIn and social media. And today is a great opportunity for me to learn more about it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you came on.
Thank you.
Carlos, would you do me a favor and just tell everyone a little bit about your story? And I'm going to go off camera here for a second. I'm going to let you have the stage.
So you want me to share with people? You think people even care to know about this? But he wants me to share my story. Well, Carlos Vides, I'm originally from Honduras, and I immigrated to the United States when I was 16 years old. I did not speak English, and all I knew was that I had a dream to come to the United States and learn about the great land, the land of the free. And so I came to the United States. Life has never been easy, but in the process, I have learned so much. And when I was 16, I came here. My parents are still in Honduras, my mom, my dad, brothers, sisters. But now I do have some family here since then. I've been in the United States for 30 years. And being in the United States for 30 years, I have been here more than my own country. So I call this my land, my United States. And I'm a U.S. citizen, but I became a citizen, but it has never been this easy. In the process of becoming a U.S. citizen, there's a long story to go with and tell. First, of course, learn the language and get educated in the United States. But one of the things that, most people don't know is, when I was in the process of going through the learning experience and everything. In 2002, I got deported. I was married and I have a kid and a house and I had established life. And then immigration decided to deport me and send me back to Honduras. I was waiting for papers in the meantime. So as I'm waiting for my papers, and instead of getting my green card here in the United States, they decided to deport me. So I went through a very, very, very rigorous process where you get handcuffs on your hands, your feet, and it's all chained up. If you ever tied up a little pig, but it just felt like a pig tied up because you had handcuffs on your hands and thing in between you and your waist, and then another handcuffs in your feet, and then they run this chain all through it, and that's how they handcuff you because you're a full-time criminal.
Wow. And so why did they deport you?
Well, because I came here when I was 16, and I came in here illegally. So I broke the law by coming to the United States illegally. But one of the things that most people until this day do not know is for us in Central America, 99% of us, that's the only chance we have to come here illegally. And in the process, we risk our life. Many times most of us, there's a lot of people that die in the process. But we're okay with risking our life because we know there's a great reward if we make it. And if we make it across the border, we come to this country and we have an opportunity to learn new things and have a prosperous life by having a job, just by being able to cut grass or being out painting houses or be a roofer or work at a restaurant. That alone is a change of life for one of us. So when you see us out on the street, that's what we're here for. But yeah, from the age until the age of 14 years old, I didn't even own a pair of shoes. I
Really?
never wore a pair of shoes. I never knew what having a pair of shoes felt like it
Huh.
until the age of between 13. In fact, my sixth grade graduation, I missed it. I did not go because I didn't have a uniform, and it required uniform, and it required you to have shoes. I did not go. I just watched all my friends get graduated and to get their sixth grade degree diploma through the window because I didn't have shoes to go in the classroom with my friends and go through the ceremony. Because our country's education, when you get to the sixth grade, they believe that you achieve the highest education, I guess, and they make a big deal because you get the sixth grade education. And that's one of the reasons we're so poor as well.
Huh. Wow. So
Yeah.
you got here, and then what? I mean, you got a job. How did you get a job right away?
Well, everybody knows in the United States that we come here to work. We don't mess around. So I got hired right away. My transportation was a bicycle. I had a bicycle, and I moved around all through Alexandria, Virginia on a bicycle. And I showed up to this construction site, and I didn't speak English, but there were groups of Hispanics in there, and I told them that I was looking for a job. And there was a couple from North Carolina. There were contractors in Virginia building this 16 storage building. And they're like, yeah, we need somebody to work for us. And so my job was to sandpaper walls. So after the paint, to prepare the walls for the painters and wallpaper. So clean the walls, sandpaper, all the shear. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it was this thick of dust, and it was just no big deal to me. I didn't know any better. That was just perfect for me because I was making $250 a week.
Oh, wow. That was good, huh?
That was very good.
So where were you?
One thing I want to make sure I tell you this, and this is part of I tell everybody is, as I'm doing that type of work, the one thing I wanted to do as quick as possible was to learn English. So I had my little headsets. Back in those days, we had the walkie-talkie. I'm sorry, the Walkmans, those little things with the cassette.
Yeah.
And I had a cassette tapes in it, and those cassettes were English because I was learning English in the process. So as I'm working, I had my headsets, and I had the English words being told to me, and I was repeating it. Table, floor, walls, ceiling, carpet, on and on and on all day. My goal was to learn 100 words per day. And I did that. I within about 5 months, maybe less than that, I was having conversations with people, and I left the job because I spoke English, and I moved on to become a supervisor at a cleaning company.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I went on to get a job, and I was a supervisor only because I spoke English, so I can run the crew.
Yeah.
And I was cleaning the university, Columbus University in Washington, D.C. But unfortunately, the guy, once he discovered that I didn't have papers, made me work for 2 months, and he didn't want to pay me.
Oh.
He did not want to pay me. He went around, and he said, I don't need to pay you. You're illegal. And I said, well, you hire me, and you say you're going to pay me. We had a big arguments, and finally he gave me $150. And with that money, I took off to New York City. The moment he paid me, the next day I got in a Greyhound bus to New York City.
What could you possibly do in New York City with $150? Not much.
Well, I knew there was a lot of people from Honduras in there, in New York. And so, I knew if I make it to New York, I can meet a lot of people that is from Honduras, and I can go over there and it was different because also in New York, you don't need transportation. Yeah. There's public transportation. And in Virginia, my bicycle was my transportation. So I can only move about maybe 45 minutes to an hour ride each way.
Yeah.
And then it became tiring to ride a bike for over an hour and go to work. So that was one of the things that moved me to New York, because there was no need of having your own car.
So you've gone so far beyond that. I mean, it's just amazing. In 30 years or 25 years, you've gone so far beyond that with all the stuff you're doing in financial planning and the car sales I know you did for a while. I mean,
yeah.
How do you do it? And then you actually teach people as well.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Well, along the way, I've been learning a lot of things from people like you, Brian. And everybody I meet, I always try to learn something from you. Always try to learn something positive from people. And my only end in mind is to always get better and always get better. And for those of you that, the end of the year is coming and January is coming. So we always set goals. And I always set my goals based on God first, family second, developing good health, having good health, number 3, and then having good intellectual levels, like always be updating your brain, constantly looking for new things to put in your brain. That's the number 4. And then number 5, of course, be able to make money and keep some money in the bank and invest some money and be a good business person, be smart about your business. So that's how I've always been running for the past 25 years. And that is one of the things that has got me in and out of a lot of things. And now in Kansas City, a couple of years ago, in fact, when I met you, Brian, I was hunting for the opportunity to become a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And I remember I talked to you about it, and I went to your chapter, to the National Speaker Association. And that has been always a thing that somehow I enjoy telling my story, but I don't want people to learn my story because you feel sorry or anything. I want you to learn my story to learn that if you're from this country, you don't know what most kids or anybody who is from here, in never been outside United States, it's very difficult to understand the situation. And very, very difficult, because where we come from and how desperate it is to be in a third world country when you don't have electricity, running water, you don't have a pair of shoes to the age of 13, 14 years old. You have no transportation. Your only transportation is either a horse, walk, or a bicycle.
Wow.
So when we hear about United States, it makes us, it's like thinking about a delicious meal that just runs through your brain and make you think about how good would it be to eat that kind of food, if I can compare that to it. So same thing, we do all these things, and that's the reason why I tell this story. I want people to know that when you're in this country, if you have never been outside United States, you have never experienced or you have never seen how a third world country person lives. And so I'm sharing this because it maybe makes sense. It may change somebody's perspective or thinking or approach. And instead of sitting around complaining about things, about your life being miserable, figure out what it takes for you to get out of the misery and move on in life. And that's what I have done.
Wow. So what was the tipping point for you? What made you want to just get out? I mean, you were 16, right? So
yeah.
What was there a final straw, or was it just you got to a certain age? How did that happen?
Well, once I turned 15, at that age, from the age of 13 to the age of 15, I was building houses. I was a bricklayer, and I also became an electrician. So I was installing, electricity and building houses, cement houses. That's what we build over there. We build these block houses. So we use cement blocks to build them. And that's what I was doing. I was making I think it was 7 pesos a day. You work 8-10 hours a day, and you make 7 pesos, which is the equivalent about less than 50 cents. It's about 35 cents, I think it is.
Really?
So that's what I was doing. And then I was not thinking about United States, but I went to work at this guy's house, and he's building this very nice house, and he's installing refrigerators, and he's doing all this, and he had a car outside, and bringing furniture in the house. And I said, man, how do you do this? How do you have so much money? And he said, well, I went to the United States, he said, and I've been there for the past 5 years. I was a dishwasher in Red Lobster in New York. And that's what the New York dishwasher in Red Lobster. You know the Red Lobster restaurant?
Oh, Red Lobster.
Yeah. I was a dishwasher there, he said, and I've been doing it for 5 years. I save my money, and this is what I'm doing now. And he goes, now somebody like you, he said, there's no electricity, building houses. You can make $13 or more an hour, and you can work 40, 50 hours a week. I immediately started doing my calculations, and I'm like, my God, that can change my life.
Yeah.
And that was the switch, the turn on. Yeah, I'm like, definitely I can do that. So to leave my country, my mom has given me a little pig, and I, fed this pig for the entire year. And then I sold it, and I sold them in December, and that I made it 250 pesos. But that money is how I took off to the United States.
You sold your pig in order to get to the U.S.
Yeah.
Wow.
That pig didn't make me more than, with that money, I only got to cross Honduras and Guatemala. And then when I was crossing the border in Guatemala, the police, supposedly be the immigration department for Guatemala, they stole the money.
Oh.
I had a little money left, and I had to bribe them so they can let me go, because they got me. So I gave them whatever I had left, and they let me go. So to cross Mexico, well, that was no big deal to me, because my mindset was that I'm gonna travel, work and travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to the first little city in Mexico, which was only like 10 kilometers into Mexico. And I went immediately to look for a job. And I got a chance to work right there. I worked there for 2 weeks, made enough money to move on to the next city and to the next city. It took me 14 weeks to go across Mexico. But let me tell you, as I'm crossing Mexico, I was sleeping out in the woods, under cars, under bridges. My only requirement was that if it rains, I don't get wet. If it rains, I don't get wet. And I didn't want to sleep in areas where I get, wake up in the morning in the middle of the city. I wanted to be where nobody will bother me. So I wanted to feel safe. So a nice a tree or wooded area was always my favorite, because nobody will pass by when there was no trails. So I always look for wooded areas where nobody have trails passing by, or a bridge. So underneath a bridge, or sometimes I will go to big parking lots and find, the truckers when they park the trucks out warm, because in Mexico at night it gets cold. So I would sleep underneath at that heat, and I just had to make sure the next day I was up bright and early. So
they were. You were sleeping under the semi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was my situation, and then I would walk, get on buses, and move on to the next city. And I went through a whole process of going through Mexico just like that. Yeah, and it took about 12, 14 weeks to get through it. That's what I remember.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you had some blind spots as you were going through that whole journey. There were things out there you didn't see that you probably should have. So tell me about your blind spots, and then we're going to talk about your vision and how your
Yeah.
vision really kept you on the path.
Yeah. Well, blind spots were always, I didn't know what I only had one direction, north. I only knew that I had to kept coming north. Uh, I did not know the rules. The blind spot was always not knowing where the food or there were entire days with no food. Uh, I didn't know who to trust because you always around people that you never met before, and you're an immigrant, so you can never trust just anybody to tell them who you are or ask for help. You depend exactly only on yourself, and you got to keep it the highest secrets, and it's just, gosh, there's so many things, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm
many
sure it
things.
must be hard, going through that, and then you're not knowing who you could talk to and tell the
No,
story about what you're
no,
doing.
you can't talk to anybody. You can't trust anybody because anybody who becomes friend to you and you get comfortable, that person can turn you in right away. Because
Yeah,
to them, I mean, that can also mean money because some people they collect a fee for telling, or they blackmail you into make you do things, or you know, or they tell the police who you are,
yeah.
and so those are the things that you never know about.
So you had a vision. You
Yes,
knew
sir.
where you were going, and you
Yeah,
didn't know exactly how to get there. You knew the next step. You knew to take the next step. That was the best step. What was the next one? Sometimes you make
yeah,
mistakes. Sometimes you probably considered different steps, bad steps, but those steps really helped you to get farther along where you were going. So, how did you maintain your vision? Was there ever a time where you wanted to give up?
absolutely not. That has until this day never has been a chance for me to allow that thinking in my head. Give up is not an option. The bridges are burned. I has to keep moving, and the only thing is you have to be very tactical when you're in that mindset. Very tactical. Always be in the lookout. Always be paying attention to every step. And until this day, and that's everyday life, really. If you would pay attention to, sometimes we set up these specific goals in life, and we think that they will come to you automatically just by doing the work, but it doesn't work that way. You
Yeah,
have to be very tactical, very specific, and have a different desires um, that, to get where you want to get to, and that's in any goal you set.
yeah. No, I would agree with that. So, tell me, is there something you keep coming back to that uh, in the last 30 years, since you've been in the U.S. Is there something that you keep coming back to, a tactic or a practice that helps you to stay focused? Is it something daily or weekly?
Absolutely, and for many years I did not know what it was,
Mm.
but about 14 years ago I figured it out. I'm very scared to be back to being poor again. I never want to be poor again. Never. I
Yeah,
mean, it is a fear that just haunt me. The idea that you're very poor and you have nothing, zero, and that is just a very scary thought. Because when if you ever been to a third world country, and let's say you're a tourist and you are eating at a nice restaurant and there's three or four kids just looking at you, just smelling the food that you eat, but they're not close to you. They're not allowed to get close to you, or not even allowed to walk into a restaurant or anything like that. I never want to have that feeling again because I
yeah.
had it. That happened to me as a kid, and I never ever want that to happen.
That's so that key practice or tactic is just reminding yourself you don't want to be poor.
No, sir. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's why like I said, the five things that I stand by.
Yeah.
and have a strong beliefs and have a strong family. Take good care of your family, and then take good care of your body. So you always be functional and you always be to top notch in your brain. And then, of course, always be learning new things. Always, 100%. Always, every day, be looking for new things to learn and move on. And then money just comes to you.
Yeah. So how do you help people in your sales training to help them to become focused and be goal driven like you are goal driven?
Very much the same. So I talk about these 5 elements, and then from these 5 elements, we'll move on to put each of those elements in their practice. You can have a very happy life with a happy family, but if you're not taking care of your health, okay, let's talk about your health. What are your goals? Then you can be very healthy, but you're not developing yourself. You're not getting smarter every day. So let's talk about it. What are your goals? Where do you want to go in life? What do you see yourself doing next year? Not 5 years from now. What do you see yourself doing next year? And okay, you want to do whatever it is they say. Just like me, 2 years ago, I talked to you about I wanted to become an inspirational speaker. And now I'm getting ready to open the studio. I'm getting ready to open a classroom for people to come and learn and all this type of thing. So I feel that it's a progress there.
Oh, yeah.
And yes. And so those are the things that I'm 100%. I tell people you have to always have a mindset of better and better and better. Not necessarily making tons of money, but enjoying life, because when you're doing better intellectually or whatever, you feel better with yourself and you're more peace. And so, okay, so if you're doing all those things and you're making a lot of money, but you're not keeping any money, so what are you doing? Then you get depressed because you work and you have nothing. So we have to work about your savings. What type of saving skills do you have? Are you saving enough money for the future? And so this is a big circle, and that's what I talk about.
Wow.
And of course, I train pure sales skills because I've been in sales my entire life. So we'll talk about the skills of sales, prospecting, and we talk about presenting your business, your whatever product you're selling, how to close a deal, and how to maintain a customer, how to keep a customer for life.
So is your training going to be offered online?
Well, through my website.
Yep.
I will have the class. I'm going to have a classroom where you can come and take the class sitting down with me. But there's also going to be a camera that will be videotaping me the whole time, and that's going to be streamed to my website. And so I feel that it's going to be just like a normal school.
Yeah. Now, that's awesome. So I know your website isn't available or isn't up yet. But for the recording of this, would you be willing to give me that website and I'll put it in?
Yeah. It's going to be carlosvidesadvisor.com.
Advisor?
Yeah. .com. And then the full name is going to be Carlos Vides Advisor Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Look at this. Is that it?
That's it.
And the banner. So the banner will be create a banner. Carlos Vides Academy.
Yes.
Academy. I get the spell here. Here we go. So that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And if in maybe another few days, the company that's building the website said that they will have it ready and will be published.
Awesome.
And I'm also doing inspirational interviews. I don't know if you've seen those, but the idea with my interviews is to just inspire others, especially right now with COVID-19. People having very difficult time. So
Sure.
I just put out those are in Spanish because I
Mhm.
want to reach out to my Spanish community and let them know that even when times are hard, you can still be learning something new and preparing for so when things are easier. And in reality, if you work hard when things are hard, when things are easier, it's just better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. No, I agree with that. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Carlos. Is there anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with?
That just don't get stressed out about the situations or whatever you see going on in the environment right now. I get stressed out, but the only thing you can take about whether you're in politics, religions, or whatever it is you are, or raising kids, focus on you and your family. Control what you can control. Focus on you and your family. That's all you can do. Do the best you can be yourself and your family, and the rest will take care of itself. And stay out of trouble.
Awesome. I love it. What a great way to send us off. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us today.
It's been a pleasure. It's
Uh,
been a pleasure.
Great,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
See you, Carlos.
Bye bye.
Bye.